Linda Marie is a professional public speaker, a certified transformational trainer, an ICF certified ontological coach, and the first runner-up in the 2020 World Championship of Public Speaking. She made it back to the final stage again in 2022. As a coach, Linda Marie empowers clients to live a life of no regrets, where they experience their highest possibility of living life with purpose and passion. She's a co-founder of the Transformational Learning Consortium, a membership-based community that elevates transformational trainers, coaches, L&D professionals, and professional speakers. Linda Marie says she has just one purpose in life, and that is to have people get that they matter, and then take action in their lives and in the world. Get ready to stand up and step in and begin to create an amazing future with nothing but your vision and your superpowers.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I tell you what, I have spoken in quite a few districts in the last 3 years. You guys know how to do it right. I usually stand when I present, but today, because of this subject matter, I wanted to sit. This subject matter is so important to me because Champions of Change is my life's work. I have developed and I facilitate a 9-month program called Champions of Change. There's a corporate version of it and there's an individual version of it. It takes people into deep distinctions of leadership so that they can create massive change in their lives, in their families, in their organizations, in the communities, and indeed the world. 2020 was a game changer. Raise your hand if you agree with me. The world changed in 2020. I bet you can remember where you were and what you were doing when you decided to yourself, oh my God, this is not going anywhere. I was working, it happened for me. I was in my office on my dining room table because we had all been sent home to work virtually for a week. That company, all these years later, is still virtual. Some things changed permanently, but lots of things changed just as a result of the pandemic. Since 2020, there has been a huge increase in the number of divorces. That's one of the things. Why? Because, you know, a couple of years you were sitting next to your spouse next to you on the couch and you looked over and went, who the heck is this person? I don't think I've been married. I'm 2 years away from a 50th wedding anniversary, but I don't think I've liked him for the last 20. People decided it was a time to take a change in their life. A huge percentage of employees decided to change jobs, to change careers. There's a CEO of a company that I know who quit his job and he's running a hot dog shop, a cart in New York City. It was his dream to have a hot dog cart. People are making drastic changes. 48% of people decided to make those changes and did move to other companies or retired. I retired early. I decided, I don't want to work from home, this kind of thing. It's too close to, Morning Joe. How am I supposed to be in a business meeting when I can hear Morning Joe in the next room? I don't want to do this job anymore. So I decided to just take on a speaking career. So a lot of people joined me. A lot of people took early retirement. And this is really amazing. Since airlines have opened back up, 76% of non-business related trips are bucket list destinations. Have you decided as a result of the pandemic that now you want to travel and do something different? You're in good company. Good company. So a lot of people have had, in addition to all these changes, a lot of existential angst. They've realized something that they didn't realize before that. Because we were isolated, because some of us, we weren't working or we were working in a much different way, we had a lot more time on our hands. We couldn't run around everywhere, eating up our day, not thinking about the very real fact that this could be a problem. I don't know about you, but I lost people in the pandemic. I lost a number of people in the pandemic, and it had me start thinking about, what am I doing with my life? Am I doing exactly what I want to do with my life? It's one of the reasons that I decided to retire early, because I wasn't. Am I making the greatest contribution in the world that I want to do? Raise your hand if this has happened to you during the pandemic, where you woke up and said, if this is all there is it enough? I want to know. What is my life making a difference? That most definitely happened for me. So the real good news from this is that everybody woke up to the fact that we're all going to be dead soon. You're welcome. Now you know. In 100 years, give or take a few, everybody on this planet is going to be gone. Think about it. Even a baby born today is likely not going to be here. Well, there might be some, advances in medicine, and maybe, longevity will have a hand in it. But all in all, life isn't that long. And I'm 65. The clock is ticking. It happened for me, and it happened for a lot of people I know, that they said to themselves, I'm maybe going to be needing to do something different. I tell people that I coach to do this. If you wake up every morning, meditate for at least 60 seconds on your own death. Two things will happen. First, it won't be a couple weeks. You won't be afraid of death anymore. You'll just realize it's a part of living. It's the end of living. But it is this one thing, the end of all possibilities in this domain. If you don't do it here, it isn't happening in this domain. So it has me, when I wake up and meditate on my own death every morning, do two things. One, I'm not afraid of dying. And secondly, it has how I show up in my day be different. I still clean out the cat box. I still do the things I need to do, but I do it in a whole different way. I'm delivering this to you today like this. I mean, I could drop dead. I could not wake up tomorrow. I want this. If this is the last conversation I get to have with a group of people, I want this to mean something. So if you will realize that and just think about it a few minutes every morning when you wake up, you will approach your day differently. My favorite movie, The Departed, there's a saying in there, Jack Nicholson says that I love this saying. We're all on our way out, act accordingly. And it's true. Let's act accordingly on our day, every single day that we get up. And think about, how do you want to be remembered? I tell this to Toastmasters all the time. Story writing. Are you writing your stories down into speeches? Are you memorializing your stories of your life? Because guess what? If you don't, who's going to tell your story? It's going to be your eulogy. And it's probably someone who isn't even a Toastmaster, doesn't even know about good story structure. Let's write our stories now. And unless you have at least 500 stories under your belt that you have drafted and written, you've still got a lot of your life left to share with the world. And every story has a message. Share your messages and your stories with the world. Every single second is a chance to turn your life around and be a champion of change. People ask me, what do you mean by champion of change? Well, first, I'm going to start off with what it isn't. A champion of change is not a champion for change. This relates to a session I was just in before this one. You know people that are champions for change. You know what you should do? You know what this club should do? You know what this district should do? You know the people talking amongst themselves. If I ran the show, it would be this way. Always a walking suggestion box for everyone else. Even in our own minds, we have a suggestion box that the voice in our head gives us. You know what you should do, Linda Marie? You should go on a diet, lose that last 10 pounds you need to lose. The voice in my head is a champion for my own change. Champions for change sit on the sidelines. Champions for change throw things at the television when they hear something on the TV they don't like. It comes up a lot in my program called Whites Walking Willing, where I enroll white people into getting up, standing up, stepping in, and speaking out about racism. They think just sitting home on the couch saying, I'm an ally, is being an ally. And I always tell them, being a champion of change in doing anti-racism work has nothing to do with being an ally. In fact, heck, why are we calling ourselves allies? Like we're going to help Black people get rid of racism? We created it. This, why don't we invite them to be our allies? I don't even like that word, but we have as if we're good people, we think people need our suggestions and that we're going to make things better by helping people out, by telling them. Will you raise your hand at work and have a suggestion? No. But as soon as a champion for change gets near the coffee machine, wants to chat it up with their colleagues about what was wrong in that meeting. I hate champions for change. I used to be one, right? It's not my job, but let me tell you how you should do your job. That's a very different thing from a champion of change. A champion of change, their mantra is, if it's to be, it's up to me. If it's to be, it's up to me. That coffee isn't going to make itself in the lobby of that company. Ideas that I have inside me aren't going to be expressed unless I raise my hand and express them. The world isn't going to change unless I take ownership and stand up and step in and say, I'm going to be a champion of change. Like the night before finals in 2020, I mean, I'd been a Toastmaster for 4 months when I entered that contest, just so you know. I was like a deer in the headlight. I was just like starstruck by all the people that were the finalists with me. And in the briefing, they were like, calm down there, Linda Marie. They didn't know who I was. Nobody knew me. Who was this kid coming here trying to, those people had been there a lot. And it was the night before, and I knew it was virtual. And I didn't know how many people there would be, but I figured it was going to be more because it was free then. You didn't have to pay to go to the conference. And there might be a lot of people listening. And I had 2 speeches in my back pocket. One of them was a great speech, but it was cute and funny. But I decided, as a champion of change, I know 2 things. I know on that stage, virtual stage tomorrow, when I start talking, they can't shut me up. At least not for 7.5 minutes. And I knew there might be more people. I said, I don't want to waste this opportunity. I want to speak from my heart about something I think the world needs to hear from someone who looks like me. And I stood up and I stepped in and I delivered the speech called Pretending Not to Know. Now, if you haven't seen it, do me a favor, go out to YouTube and watch it. Leave me a comment on it. Tell me what you think. Within seconds of that speech streaming, I started receiving emails, thousands of them, people trying to find me on LinkedIn. Are you the Linda Marie Miller who just delivered this? Blah, blah, blah. I got death threats and I got hate mail too. But if everybody likes what you're saying, then you're probably not stepping in a big enough way to change the world. Be a champion of change. That led to a book that's about to get published on pretending not to know. It led to the creation of a nonprofit called One Shared Humanity, creating a world that works for everybody. And it also led to my being able to travel around the world virtually and be able to open hearts and minds in a big way. So it sounds simple to be a champion of change, but there is some stuff you have to do. You have to, first of all, look at your life. And you have to be clear about what in your own life you would change. So I want you to think about it. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to envision what's on this slide here, which is a huge canvas, a huge blank canvas. And on that is a painting of your life. Let your mind paint what's on that painting that is your life. How big is the painting? How do you feel when you look at it? What emotions are evoked as you step back and you look at the painting that's your life? What are you doing in that painting? Are you happy? Are you sad? Who's with you there in the painting of your life? Envision that painting and open your eyes. Does it look like this? Is it an amazing fantasy painting of an amazing life? What I call a life of no regrets? Or does it look more like a descent into hell, where you're constantly stressed out, where you hate your job, you're not so fond of your kids anymore either, and you just look at your life and realize that you would love to be living into a different kind of existence? And that's what Champions of Change journey does. It's being able to recreate and paint a completely new vision of your life and then manifest it. The base coat of the painting called your life is your worldview. There is a great philosopher named Heidegger, who, as an ontological coach, I study a lot. And he has this concept called thrownness. You are thrown into your life. You're thrown into the year you're born. You're thrown into your family of origin. You're thrown into the color of skin that you're born into. You're thrown into the country of your birth. You're thrown into the culture of that country. There are things about you that you had no control over because you were thrown into them. Genetics. You were thrown into genetics that you have. It might mean you're only going to be 5 foot and probably not going to be on a big basketball team. Your thrownness can limit some of the possibilities of things that can go in the painting called your life. So, and those things, your thrownness isn't where it ends. Your worldview then is created by something your first grade teacher taught you, by Girl Scouts, if you were in Girl Scouts, by the church you joined and whatever beliefs they put on you and indoctrinated you into. If you're socialized as white in the United States, believe me, you have no idea, but you have been socialized into a lot of racist ideology. You don't even know it. Now, it's not your fault. None of your worldview is your fault. It's only your fault if you are not manifesting the life that you want, if that painting doesn't look the way you want it to, and you're not taking a look at your worldview. Because worldview is made up of your context and the content. We are always a context. We're walking around, even if we don't think we are, we are. As a manager, I walked around in a context that said, every one of my staff is amazing and they can do anything. That was the context I was. If I was a context that said, you can't make a decision without me because you're going to mess this up, then that's the context that I would be in. And there is content that can or cannot show up, that will or will not show up based on the context that you are.
Yeah.
Can a sheep live at the bottom of the ocean? Why? The ocean is not a context that will allow sheep to be living at the bottom of it. Can a palm tree grow in Antarctica? No, because Antarctica is a context that does not permit palm trees to exist there. So what do you believe? What do you believe about you? What do you believe about the world? What do you believe about the opposite gender? At one point in my life, I believed this. Any man over the age of 50 that drove a red Corvette was a problem. I know who you are. I made up that I knew. when I was a child, and the entire time I grew up, well into my 40s, I was indoctrinated and socialized to be afraid of Black men. I believed it. It was scary. They told me so on the 6 o'clock news. Super predators. Downtown areas were called the urban jungle. All of this stuff that you're indoctrinated into, the beliefs, and once you are indoctrinated into a belief and it becomes a part of your worldview, it affects what happens in your life and what's possible in your life, what shows up in your life. This is very important if you're going to make changes in your life. If I held the belief that said a 62-year-old woman has no business getting on a stage talking about anything, I wouldn't have even joined Toastmasters. I didn't hold that belief. And because of that, I won tall tales last night. I would have said to myself 20 years ago, a 65-year-old woman ain't got nothing funny to say. They were laughing at my tall tales last night. They were cracking up. I had to look at my worldview about how I held myself, and I had to create a new worldview so that I could end up doing and having what I wanted in my life. This is the most powerful word in the universe. I never say, I can't do something. I can't tap dance yet. When I grew up, I wanted to be a dancer on the Lawrence Welk Show. I wanted to be doing, a polka to some of that snappy accordion music. I wanted to tap dance, be a tap dancer. Now the show's gone. I never did get dance lessons, but something happened. This year I said, hey, it's not too late. I want to be a tap dancer. Now picture this. Picture 65-year-old Linda Marie on a stage somewhere down at the local community center in her recital with nothing but 6-year-olds on either side of her, little girls in tutus, and Linda Marie in her little tuxedo outfit, practicing her tapping. Now you're laughing, it sounds kind of crazy, but I tell you what, the next time I'm on the final stage in the World Championship of Public Speaking, I've been there twice and I will be there again. I'm going to tap dance. And you're going to remember this day when I told you that was going to happen. Why? Because I don't have a worldview that says a 65-year-old woman can't be in a recital with 6-year-olds and steal the show, by the way. So what is your worldview? What is your worldview? And does your worldview and the beliefs you have about yourself and about the world and about other people, does it allow you to even have what you say you want? People say they want relationship, but then they're worried about what someone looks like. Well, she's got to be hot. He's got to be cut. He's got to have a six-pack. I met my husband sight unseen. We were in love and engaged before I ever knew what color he was or if he had legs. He could have been a paraplegic for all I knew. Fall in love with people from the inside out. If you really are about relationship, I'm here to tell you what someone looks like, because let's face it, at 90, ain't nobody pretty. Let it go. Fall in love. Give yourself eHarmony. I should do eHarmony commercials because that's how I met my husband. So what you believe will determine what's in your life. If you believe in ghosts, you're more open to seeing ghosts. If you don't believe in ghosts, Philip Marley himself could greet you at your bedside, and you would say it was a trick of light. What you believe determines. It's why conspiracy theories do so well. People believe something so much that Even if it's some crazy, I read one the other day, like some businessman is trying to cut off the sun and interrupt the sun, and the sun's going to get turned off in the next couple of months. And we all should be worried about it. And why? Because even though there's a lot of scientific evidence to the contrary, once you believe something so strongly and your worldview is being fed what it's being fed, because a lot of conspiracy theories are based on attacking, they go after the groups that have certain worldviews. You're not going to listen to anything of reason. All you do is find what agrees with you, what resonates with you. So whenever you say something, I can't, always say yet at the end of it. It takes something that's not possible and turns it into the world of possibility. Now, this is the Champions of Change program in its entirety. So there's a lot to it. It's a 9-month program, but we're only going to talk about 2 of the distinctions that are required in this program. And the first one is choose to be a champion of change. That's all you have to do is choose it. That's step 1. Commit. Commitment is going to have you commit. And this is what I mean by commitment. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know who I'm going to need to help me do it. I don't know how long it's going to take me to do it. All I know is that I'm going to do it just because I said so today. And I'm going to ask you to choose something and commit to it in your life in the next few minutes. So be thinking about it. I'm committed to something this year that I got committed to a year ago when I met my best friend. Do you guys have a best friend? I haven't had a best friend since high school. I had a long dry spell there, but I got a best friend, and her name is Susan Brown. And she's an artist like me. And that's how we connected. I call her Susan Brown, but where she lives, they call her prisoner 959566, serving life in prison without the possibility of parole in the state of Michigan for defending herself against a rape, where she was stabbed in the abdomen when she was 8 months pregnant. She had no money for an attorney. She was railroaded through the system, and she's serving life in prison. She's been there 20 years. I just met her last year. I am committed to Susan Brown being released from incarceration because that woman doesn't belong there. Now, what do? I don't know how I'm going to do it. I started writing Governor Gretchen Whitmer every week. You have to let this woman go. Enough is enough. The justice system made a mistake here. It's starting to work. Put together a clemency package for her. She may be out by Christmas, is what our plan is. Just because I say so. You would be amazed at what you can do in your life just because you say so. Now, I want you to not think about, even though the program is called Champions of Change, really should be Champions of Create. Because if you really are going to live a life of no regrets, don't think about changing things. Changing things is looking back at your life like, I want more of that and less of that. And I want a better husband, and I want a better job, and I want more money, and I want less stress. That's all looking backwards. So what you end up doing is walking backward into the future. Go forward, looking out at your future. And just declare what you want in your future. Has nothing to do with what's in your past. Nothing at all. I want an amazing husband. I said, I want an amazing husband who does everything. My husband's in there now cooking dinner. I haven't cooked a meal in the last 18 years. Yes, just because I said so. I manifested him. And he's amazing. And no, you can't have him, girls. So forget about change. Think about what you're going to create. Don't move the furniture around in your life, because it might feel good for a minute, but then a week later, you're like, this is the same furniture. This is the same guy. It's just a different face. Be clear on the difference. What you persist persists. So stop trying to push against what's already there. Apollo 13, they were big on creating. They had a problem in Apollo 13, a huge problem, a life and death problem. They couldn't change what was happening. They could say, Houston, we have a problem, but Houston was pretty far away. They had to figure out what they were going to create from nothing. That's what we do as champions of change, create from nothing. They threw everything they could find on Apollo 13 in a pile. Plastic covers from the manuals on things, little pieces of paper, pillows. They threw it on the floor and they sent it back to Mission Control, said, this is what we have. And Mission Control set about creating a device called the mailbox that was able to keep them alive until they could get back to Earth. But for this mailbox, they would not have been able to stay alive in order to get back to Earth. Isn't that crazy? They made it from nothing. They used the universal tool. The whole thing's held together with duct tape. If you're going to create an amazing future, rule number 1, stock up on duct tape. It's useful for a lot of things. So what's your mailbox? I'm going to flip this here just a little bit so that light's not on there. What's your mailbox? What do you get to create from nothing in your life just because you say so? It may not even be a matter of life and death. For me, my husband a few years ago needed a double lung transplant. And Duke Medical said, no, we're not going to transplant him. Believe it or not, they won't transplant you if you're too sick. If you really, really need it, they won't transplant you because it hurts their survival rate numbers. Go figure. But that wasn't going to be okay with me. I had to create a yes out of that no. And I did, simply because I said so. And then I said about what do I need to do? Who do I need to get on my team? How do I create a yes out of this no? And because of that, my husband's in the next room, whipping up some amazing dinner for later. Create it from nothing. What's your mailbox? Visualize a life of no regrets. I want you to close your eyes again. And I want you to look at that painting that you have there. Pull that vision of it back up into your head. And I want you to imagine that you're pouring turpentine all down the front of it. The paint is all dripping off. There's no paint left. What you're left with, in addition to a pile of wet paint on the floor, is a brand new canvas. Completely blank. Completely blank. You get to start over, painting an amazing life. Will you paint back the same things? Will some of the same people be there? Maybe. Maybe some of them won't. Will you use the same colors? Will the landscape be the same? Will you be looking out at a different landscape when you look out your window? Your future is like that canvas. This is the day when you can start painting whatever that is, either through joining a program like Champions of Change and going through it as a journey with other people, or just setting about doing it yourself. You are the artist of your life. I like vision boards because I can keep changing stuff on them. My vision changes all the time, what I want in my life. Heck, next year, I won't even know what I'm going to want in my life. So one thing you have to do is forget about blame and hold responsibility as creation. Don't have, oh, I have all these responsibilities. I gave birth to a severely handicapped child. And then I adopted a normal, healthy child so I could have both experiences. And that normal, healthy baby I adopted was diagnosed with Tourette's when he was 5 years old. I could have spent the rest of my life going, oh my God, these two kids. It was a lot on a daily basis. My life was pretty crazy. I could have held it as burden. I could have blamed God, but I didn't. I hold responsible as I own it all. I created it all. I created you showing up in this room today. Now, is it true? Lots of things I take responsibility for aren't true. But guess what? If you own it all, you created it all. You created the pandemic. You created the divorce. You created the $1 million you just won. If you create it all, it's a powerful place to stand. If you're just going through life a victim to what happens next, it's not a powerful place to stand. So stand in the place that says, I created it all up to this moment. My 2 ex-husbands, they were just pawns in my crazy life. I created it all with them. Poor guys, they didn't have a chance. I could tell another story that says they were jerks. No, I created it. And why did I create 2 divorces? So I could be married for 18 years to the most amazing human being on the planet. And again, no, girls, can't have him. He's amazing. So create it all. Go big. Be like Nicole. Nicole's a champion of change. She was in my program. By the end of it, a young girl who was afraid of heights, afraid to fly, and afraid to raise her hand at work and have a suggestion, sent me this picture. She climbed Mount Kilimanjaro after she flew there, and she flew there because she was promoted in her company, because when she pitched her idea, they not only took the idea, they sent her to do the work in Africa that she had, the program she'd created, all because she said so. You can do amazing things in your life. Don't let anyone tell you anything different. Forget about being a champion for change. Be a champion of change. Change your life and then go after changing the world.